Hey, welcome back. Today we're diving into something I'm pretty sure we've all done. That strangely addictive magnetic pull of doom scrolling.
So let's just get right to it. Why do we do this to ourselves? Seriously, why do we spend hours just scrolling through one awful headline after another until we feel physically sick? Well, it turns out there's a powerful chemical reason your brain gets hooked. And you're not going to believe this, but the habit might actually be shrinking your brain.
All right, so first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. What even is this endless scroll we all seem to be trapped in?
At its core, doom scrolling is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's when you find yourself just glued to your phone, your thumb on autopilot, swipe, 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 soaking up this never-ending stream of negative news. We're talking political crises, natural disasters, you name it. It almost feels like you can't stop, right? Involuntary.
And this is a really crucial point. This isn't just some simple bad habit you can just drop. For a lot of us, it feels more like an addiction to tragedy. It's this compulsive loop that's driven by a super deep, really primal need to stay informed, to know what threats are out there. We get this feeling like, okay, if I just see one more story, then I'll finally get it. Then I'll be prepared.
Okay, so let's get into the science of it, because the real story here, the real drama, is happening inside your head. It's a chemical tug-of-war that's keeping you hooked to the screen.
What we've got going on here is a battle between two really powerful brain chemicals. So, in one corner, you've got dopamine. Now, dopamine is part of your brain's reward system, but here's the twist. It's not released when you find good news. It's released when you're seeking information. It's the chemical that drives that urge to swipe just one more time. And in the other corner, you've got cortisol. That's the classic stress hormone, and it just floods your system every single time you land on another piece of bad news.
So this cycle basically turns your phone into an information slot machine. Your brain pulls the lever, with your thumb, and you get that little hit of dopamine from the search. You keep hoping the next swipe will be the jackpot, the one piece of news that will finally make everything make sense and put you in control. But instead, you just get another dose of stress.
So, okay, that's the mechanism. But what's the actual price we pay for this? What happens to our minds and to our bodies when this cycle of seeking and stressing just never ends?
Well, the immediate effects are probably pretty familiar to you. We're talking about heightened anxiety, that constant feeling of being stressed out, and of course, terrible sleep. You try to go to bed, but your brain is just wired, replaying all the negative stuff it just soaked up. It's a perfect recipe for complete exhaustion.
And this gets to the heart of the problem. It's a cortisol overload. By constantly scrolling through potential threats, you're keeping your body in this prolonged state of fight or flight. That's your body's emergency mode, and it was never ever meant to be switched on for hours and hours on end.
And here it is. This is the most important takeaway. This is not just about feeling bad. Being chronically exposed to high levels of cortisol can have a physical impact. Research suggests it can actually lead to a thinning of the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that handles executive functions, like regulating your emotions and making decisions. So basically, the habit is wearing down the very part of your brain that you need to stop.
But look, it's not all bad news, because once you understand the mechanism, you can actually learn how to interrupt it. So let's talk about what you can do, the actual steps you can take to get back in control. So, how do we break this cycle? First, set some clear boundaries. Decide on specific times you're allowed to check the news, and maybe even use an app to limit your time on certain sites. Second, curate your feed. Be intentional. Unfollow accounts that just make you anxious, and start following ones that bring you some joy or teach you something positive. And third, and this one might be the most powerful of all, practice a digital detox. I'm talking physically put your phone away. Stick it in a box for an hour, or maybe for a whole evening, and just give your brain a real break from that slot machine.
And that leaves us with one final thought. This whole thing isn't about losing access to information. It's about gaining back your time, your focus, and your mental peace. So the real question is, once you finally step away from that endless scroll, what will you do? What will you build? What will you learn? Or what could you create with all of that time you take back?